I'm Pastor Chris Kumpela of Living Word Mankato. I want to wish all of our Mankato area pastors a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and start by telling a story of something that happened last week. My wife and I got a phone call from an elderly couple concerned about a family married with 5 children, and there were a number of red flags that had popped up in the space of a couple days very seriously, concerned about potential neglect and maybe down the road potential abuse for this family. And this couple, they're looking to a situation where the best that they can do is take these kids in for 1 or 2 nights. And they're asking, is there any support that we can give in being able to make that a possibility? Very quickly, the conversation develops even deeper as we talk about this family, knowing this family, and contemplating making an approach where, we can support for those first 2 nights, but could we host them for an extended period of time? My wife and I go from tucking in our 4 kids at night to contemplating taking in another 5 children into our home. And we're scrambling, thinking about what it is that we're going to need on hand and how it is that we're going to accommodate and deal with this situation. That's an overwhelming thing, especially if you're not prepared to be opening up your home, to be hosting families that are in a crisis, to be able to offer an opportunity for early intervention. But that opportunity is so precious because right now, the way that our system works is that we allow systems to deteriorate. We allow family situations to deteriorate to the point where the police are called in. And only after the police have been called in and social services are involved and child protective services remove the kids from home and it becomes a court issue, only then do we have a system that does anything with them. And by that point in time, damage is done. Damage is done to these children, damage is done to these families, and oftentimes the outcomes are not good. And these families, over the course of generations, continue in a broken cycle that can't be broken by a state system run by counties that insists on punitive measures, that only has the force of the sword. For the church, we believe in the power of the gospel to heal and unite families and to keep them together. And we're concerned for those situations that have escalated to that crisis. But the church is also concerned with proactively looking to those families that are at risk and being ready to be able to support those families and getting those kids someplace safe, so that whether it's a financial stress or it's a relational stress, that couple can work through things and be able to be strengthened so that that family can come back together and continue on. The outcomes of church involvement, when it's done well and it's done with the professional support to do good instead of doing well-intentioned harm, the outcomes are far better than the outcomes of our foster care system right now. Now, there's a number of organizations that have delved deep into developing a model to support churches in doing this. Meredith Sandberg was one of the founding board members for the Christian Alliance for Orphans, an international advocacy organization to reclaim the role as the church to look to the welfare of the widow and the orphan, and looking to foster care and pre-foster care as a unique opportunity for our community. They've been at work in Minneapolis, engaging and equipping the church and getting them out to deal with these families in open homes and even open residencies that are open for short-term stays to support these families and do the work that our foster care system just can't do anymore. The system is broken. It hasn't worked for a long time. And as time goes on, it continues to get worse. We have well-intentioned social workers that are often doing the best they can in a system that just doesn't work. Meredith Sandberg has a vision to look further upstream from that point of crisis, from that point of putting a family in a courtroom and all the damage and the broken trust and the red tape that ends up messing that family even further. Looking upstream and saying, is there a way for the church to look to these families, to be able to give them an option between doing their best and surviving as a family in a way that just isn't working, and on the other hand, getting involved in the foster care systems? Are there opportunities along the way for intervening and supporting these families? And she said yes, and so she started an organization fittingly called Together for Good. And it's an organization that seeks to support and train up Christian hosting families to be able to support keeping families together in a way that is in support of our existing foster care system, but further upstream from it, and doing what it is that system just hasn't been able to do, what it isn't going to be doing anytime soon, and engaging the church to do it. And it's been a wonderful thing. Now, that's a regional ministry that's a part of this international Christian Alliance for Orphans movement to go and seek the welfare of these kids and families. But we also have a local partner that I think is a real opportunity for our Mankato area. Pastor Gene Witt is pastor of First Baptist Church in Waterville, Minnesota, and his wife, Cheryl, is the executive director for the Children's Opportunity Foundation. And this is an organization that is sharing in this same mission and is seeking to engage a network of churches in this greater area in southern Minnesota to build a network of churches that is engaged in doing this work. This is not something that one church can do. This is not something that Living Word can do on its own. But it is something that we can do as congregations working together to meet a need that isn't being met in our Mankato area. And I believe that we have in our community the capacity to raise up 25 host families amongst our congregations to be able to partner with Children's Opportunity Foundation and leverage the professional support from Together for Good to build a relationship that's not in competition with our foster care system, but supporting the work that it just isn't equipped to do in our greater Mankato area. There is such a need. And these kids have no hope, and these families are left without hope apart from facing a judge in a black robe. And how much better would it be for them to not just see the judge, but to see the hope of Christ being lived out through the people of God, concerned for these children, for these families, in the way God has called us to be. I hope that you'll consider this opportunity and pray about how it is that you as a church might be able to engage in this area of ministry, and want to invite you to come to hear Cheryl Witt and to be able to hear a fuller picture of a vision for the church to engage in what Jesus called us to do, to engage the widow and the orphan, to seek their welfare, and for that to be the mark of a church that truly loves Jesus in loving its neighbor. To learn more, go to livingwordmankato.org, and we hope to see you in February.